Hello everyone, welcome back again to the 2019 MLPDS 151st stream, which we've had, what, 3-4 false starts because of technical problems, and now LD thinks he's fixed the problem. I had to take over the OBS, everything's being silly. And now I'm taking over the draw pile as well, so there's that.
He's just claimed it all in the name of fluff.
Yes, the fluffering, it's all gotta just happen piece by piece. Anyway, hope you guys all had a good couple of weeks. Why is my video player opening? I think I moved my tablet pen too close to my tablet while I'm fiddling with it and talking, and I clicked a button on my taskbar. Okay. It's a new year, and computers are just like, let's just get everything out of the way. Like, we just had New Year's and Christmas. Like, we were just not feeling it. Just get all the problems out now.
Exactly. Wants to be grouchy.
So, we only have a couple of pictures, and I already drew a bit on this one, but we lost it.
Sorry.
So who did you say this one was by again?
This is by Vaping Brownie 45, and it's I really need help learning how to draw the back legs in different positions and just learn how to.
Okay, just learn how to, and then I'm assuming they got kidnapped by Nightmare Moon.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what I was saying before, okay, so if we look at this drawing you've got here, the thighs, the body has kind of a interesting shape, like it's got this kind of weird, like, boxing glove sort of sausage shape. It's quite thin here, and then it like thickens, and then it doesn't have like the bean shape that pony bodies tend to have, which we talk about here sometimes. And the thigh, if you follow it, just like does this S motion. And it shouldn't really have this big gap here, which is what the problem is for me, as well as I can see this part here being the hock, but it just sort of goes straight in, and then it's like, oh sorry, I'm a bit gassy, kind of leg, and then just poke straight out into the butt. And you've also got this sort of thing that I see some people doing where they just like have the butt like this, and it's like, that's not what a pony butt should look like. So I have, so I just turned the layer off. Oh, I see you tried to test your brush here. Do not take this for gospel, because it's just my terrible drawing, and I'm actually not very good at bodies and legs and everything, but I did my best. So what we've got, firstly, I've rubbed out some of it by accident already, but I'll try and replicate it. I just drew like under sketching, because that's very important. A lot of people like to say, oh, I don't do under sketching, but that doesn't make you better. You can be a good artist without under sketching, but you're just making it harder on yourself. And it's not like a cheaty thing. It's not like an amateurish thing. Everyone needs it. So I did this under sketching, and all I did was, heads here, and then body, and the rear end, and then I did there's the thigh here, and it bends down here, has this joint, and then you have the leg. That's really all the under sketching I ever do, apart from like face direction. It's like that. So in the thigh, it's hard to describe the specific shape, but basically include a lot of overlap here. You can see where it literally overlaps the other shapes. You got the thigh here, and you got the leg here. You can see that they're separate shapes, and the leg is in front from our point of view, so it's overlapping this line here. So now we've got the weight of the thigh is coming down here, and it's being met with the leg, so we have this crease going on. So that gives us a lot of shape, a lot of nice roundness to the body there. I actually also like to, where you have the thigh, I also don't really like it just ending, like following the same tangent and just stopping like that. I usually like to do like a bit of a peel off. So go upwards a little bit. That's just me though. You can draw it anyway, like, you can not do it the way I've done it. Don't take what I've done as being this is the way that you draw, because it's my attempt at replicating what you're doing, and it's not going to be perfect in any sense. It's just it's my style, so yours might end up looking different no matter what you try to do, because people have different temperaments and ways of doing things. And the other advice I gave before was, on that note, make sure you just go on Derpy Boy or Tumblr, wherever you like to look for pictures of your ponies, and just look at artists. Just copy as many artists as you can. Look at people you're like, oh, I love how this artist has done their legs. I love how unique this style looks for this artist. Just try different things, look at how different people do things, break down how each little shape of the body works, and just try look at a couple of their pictures and then try like replicating the style of how they do like the forelegs or the hooves or the nose or something like that. And you can come up with some interesting ways of your own of drawing things by doing this. And the other thing I mentioned before, I think LD has already gone on, which is I've seen these heart things before, but I don't know, so I can't remember them because it was a while back, but I don't know if they had this much like Rapunzel hair. The tail is just like, wow, it keeps going. So I think what LD is drawn here is a good like heart shape.
Yeah. So their hair is usually over the top on the heart-shaped ones, so get that lovely heart shape. But even still, you want to, if you're going from the source material, you want to try and maintain that sort of heart shape. Right now, it's gone heart shape and then bleeding, I guess.
Mm.
Hello, Jazz Wolf.
Hello.
Yeah. And as always, keep drawing. You know how you get better? You just keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just sort of want to mention, they didn't ask about it. Well, they sort of asked for vague critique as well, I guess. But what I wanted to talk about was the actual colouring. Or, drawing method. Like, I'm pretty sure it's a digital drawing, and that's cool. What I can see you've done is you've used the spray brush. If I zoom in close, like the spray brush for the lines and for the colour as well. And it's fine if this is like a style you want to do to make it look sort of like a chalk drawing. That's absolutely cool. That's absolutely fine. But for general art, you can keep doing this if you want. But if it's like a style thing you just like doing, for general art, typically it involves. I'm actually going to use the layers for this. Let me just turn this one back on. Like outlines of like a thick, soft variety, and then the color typically goes on a different layer underneath, so you're not actually. You can see how close I can get it to lines here, and it just looks perfect because the outlines are on top of the color. So what I think you've done here is you've done the lines with the spray brush, and then meticulously, carefully gone in and just gone around the edge. I think you've probably there's some sharp parts like this where I think you've just rigorously gone over it, and it looks thorough. But it is sort of not the most efficient way of drawing. Most programs you use have layers. So just you do a line on one layer. You can see on my screen actually on layer 3. I can actually turn them off. People will see it now. I've got the line, and on layer 2 I've got the colors here. And so you're not interrupting the line. So you can just go nuts. You can say, okay, layer 3, I'm going to outline this ear, and then here's the face. I'm just doing this quickly. And there's like an eye, little eyelashes, little nostrils, cool, the mane. And you get your lining in there. And it's like, okay, I'm going to color this now. And I'm just going to make it a different color so we can see it. And it's like, okay, coloring time. And this is going to be a yellow pony now. And, oh look, the lines are absolutely safe, and I can go right up to it. And it's cool. Well, again, this might just be a style thing, so that's perfectly fine. But it's just because I know when I started drawing, I had no I drew with GIMP. I used the line tool, and I just made paths and stroked it with a pen. But I was trying to learn how to draw properly with a tablet, and I could not for the life of me find anything on how to draw with a tablet. Everything was just you get your lines, and then this is how you color, and it's but how are the lines? Tell me. So I try to just, even if it sounds basic, just there's my critique, there's my advice.
So I think I see what they're doing here. The original image, or we've cropped this version. The original image shows the rest of the application, and it's being drawn on a cell phone based application. I
forgot you could see this on the bottom. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Alias Sketchbook is pretty limited. When you aren't paying for the premium version, it's pretty limited in what it gives you. I think it does.
So it just gives you the basic tools.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching on the Game Grumps channel. They have the Pokemon Art Academy. They played for like 60 episodes. I can't remember. They're most of them like 2 hours long though. But just watching them, because it only gives you like the basic tools at first, and just watching them on like a DS screen with basic tools, and at first not having any layers or anything, just like gradually getting better things but having such basic limitations, it just like really makes you appreciate having like a full graphics tablet and just Clip Studio Paint or Sai or whatever it is you draw with, and it's like, oh wow, I want to just draw with my actual like art application software. But yeah, it's really good for just like a phone or tablet drawing. Just see if they have layers. See if they have like, I imagine they probably give you like a pen tool, unless this is just like sort of the density was too low or something. I don't know. But yeah, good job so far, especially for it being a mobile device.
All right, shall we move on to the next one?
Yes, I think so.
Awesome.
2 of 2.
So the next one is by Dragbacks, and it's made this in the summer. Wanted to try out an original alicorn for fun.
Ooh,
now
just wanted to make an alicorn, I see, just for the hell of it. I respect that. I mean, I have one. Little known fact.
Or here. Thank you, connection. I appreciate that. You dropped after all, punk.
I can still hear you now, just if that helps.
Yeah, it picked up again.
Okay. You cut out just for like a second.
Anyway, if this was drawn back in the summer, and that was what, 4 or 5 months ago? I don't know. I've lost track of time. My suggestion is, if you're gonna be looking or seeking out critique for pictures, always do your latest work, unless if you have specific questions on an old one.
Yeah. I mean, it is still valid to be like, I have this old picture and I liked it, but like there's stuff about it that even after this time I can't quite figure it out. What do you guys think? Like, that's perfectly fine. It's valid. I have that sometimes. Typically after that amount of time, you can look back on old pictures and actually, assuming you've been just drawing, doesn't matter what, but just been drawing for that time, you can usually go back and see, oh yeah, I can see where like this is wrong, but that's why we sort of say submit your most recent stuff, because it can be very valuable to get critique on what you're drawing now, as opposed to what you've sort of already moved past, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because they did submit a picture from on our last stream.
Mm-hmm.
And they did respond to our critique. I don't know if they'd actually... See, the problem is, if this was drawn in the summer, so was the other one that we critiqued, so what benefits are we giving? I don't know. Anyway, let's just critique this thing.
Maybe overthinking it.
Yeah, I think I might be overthinking it here.
I do love how this looks. So you've got some lovely shapes going on, lots of lovely curves, like nothing's too sharp from what I've seen. I'm actually making this worse. I'm sorry. I'm trying to elongate the neck a little bit. I know, but I do feel like the nose is maybe slightly long. That's why I'm trying to change that. I haven't drawn in weeks because I needed an excuse not to draw, and a good one came along. So I think if we angle the eye slightly with the face, that will be very good to say. You got some lovely, like really lovely groundwork. Like, it looks beautiful. The sketch is really nice. Good soft coloring work, and just I like the anatomy. Honestly, there are some things that could be tightened up a little bit, but that's sort of what I'm going to go over. It's like small nitpicks that can be tightened up. It's a good point to be in when you have a good sort of ground level, and it's sort of just about improving a few small things, And so the horn, I think, needs to go up an angle, just a notch. I'll tell my hand at an angle here.
So this is interesting. If you go look on their DeviantArt, they have a whole bunch of different anthro creatures, and I think that's where the ears come from. Because as some people in our chat had mentioned, the ear is actually reversed of what it normally is. Horses sort of look ahead with their ear.
I've seen people do it. Plenty of people do it like this.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is it seems more derivative of like another creature rather than a pony.
I see.
And so I think that's where the sort of ear shape and direction has come from. So it's not wrong. It's just different.
Yeah. He's just sort of just sort of investigating the source of the style, not like something that's wrong.
Yeah, and if we can, we do like to look back at your other pictures just to see why things are like that, because it does help inform some of your decisions.
Is a good word for it. Helps us sort of understand how some things work and then how to better critique the current picture.
But you should totally post these pictures to your DeviantArt because, well, this is personally, I'd say some of your best work that you have up on there. You have some very good pictures, but the overall shading and assembly of this one is very good compared to some of the other ones on here. So it makes me wonder why you don't actually have a post there, because it's something to be proud of.
Yeah, it's very, very good. Actually, I'm struggling with this back leg, but it definitely needs to. The undersketching skeleton looked right, and now drawing the actual leg doesn't. Because if you look at the actual like walk cycles of ponies, which you can find on Google pretty easily, they actually quite like lift up their leg quite far in this sort of cantering position when it's sort of like mid walk cycle. But it's definitely, I think the angle of this back leg is definitely broken. It took me a while to notice it, but that's. I like this front leg here is maybe pulled back a bit too far, but I definitely like to do that as well. But that one's otherwise quite good, and then I noticed the back leg is definitely needs some work. I'm not very good at doing legs, so I'm just trying to figure it out. And that's part of what art is just trying to figure something out and looking up references, which I think LD might be doing right now with his typing.
Actually, I'm talking to someone in the chat because they've asked if they can give critique. Just tell them they can.
Yeah, I don't have the little image that I drew. Let me just shove that on your OBS a second. New image. Give us your pics. Browse.
Show us what you got.
I made like a little. There was like a sort of a meme with my OC going right. It was just like I was taken on some commissions to afford to go to Galacon a couple of years ago, and so I drew a picture of my OC like looking at a poster on the wall, which also became like a little bit spirit when looking at things meme. But then there was another one after it with him looking all innocent with the sign saying we'll draw like need bits to pay for con trip and also for food and bills. And then we've just been like drawing different things on the sign. Like particularly that the sort of dog shaming thing where it's just like I have to sit in the corner because I'm too such and such, or I don't know. Like CBC did one where she like fluffed him to heck. It's like I have to sit in the corner because I'm too fluffy or something. And I made a version that said like I just said like feel free to give us your pictures, and then LD's been using it for the stream. Where is it?
I do gotta put that picture back because I lost all the settings at some point. I think I still have it in my folder. I would like to say one more thing about this picture before we move on.
Just scroll back up to it.
When your wing is gorgeous, like it's very well constructed, you might want to consider slightly more or adding slight more feather separation, because you have this beautiful mane and shading going on with those, but then your wing itself seems to be more of a solid blob that sort of hangs out there. So you might want to consider adding a little more separation on the feathers just by drawing out a few more of them. And if you go look at construction of feathers, you'll see varied widths to them.
Sorry, a massive spirit wind appeared
He's
on the
huge.
screen. It always happens, so I have to put it on before I resize it.
So I'd just vary those feathers just a bit more, just to build out that plumage. And I would also try and remember that there is 2 wings. So I think we would get sort of a notice that there's a wing sort of hanging around the front of this face, just based on how the body is turned to us and how high your other wing is. So if we're doing the same sort of pose on both sides, we just get the barest hint that the wing's hanging around there. We might even get some of the plumage hanging up uh, over the other wing behind it.
I don't think I have anything else to say on it though.
All right.
Really
So
cool.
now I've awoken has submitted his picture.
Nice.
Are you on the Picarto chat?
Yeah, let me just grab that.
Okay.
1 second. Do I have it? Yes, I do. Okay, there we go. I'm just gonna pull that up and then I can save that or just copy and paste.
So they're looking for critique on sorry. On shading and proportions.
Cool. Let me just put that in the drop pile. Ah. Yes,
That is an
Ricardo,
adorable picture. Why haven't I seen that?
This is the one that I made ages ago, and that's what the technical difficulties one. It had Derpy breaking through it like it was a picture.
Oh.
I did that for my stream as well, because I just took a screenshot of the offline page of my stream, and then I just used that instead. Because I like this one so much. Ah, here we go.
I love that CPC is fluffing the like the
Yeah,
easel.
in my sort of universe, she has like a magic fluff pencil ability. Like she can just draw things to be actually fluffy, and she actually just changes the texture of them.
That sounds legit. I'm okay with
Like I had this joke picture. It was like when we were anticipating going to Galacon, and how for 2007, this year, for 2018, we were anticipating what it was going to be like, and I drew like ROCs, like because I like things cold. I have a high body heat, and so I like things to be quite cold, and I'm good at handling the cold. She is not, because she's from Portugal. So we were anticipating like fighting over the air conditioner. And so, like, I also drew, and I know that conventions are very tiring as well, so I drew a picture, and it's just, like, my OC and her just lounging around and me going, like, it's too hot, and I'm tired, and then she's just, like, next to me, and then she just, in the next panel, she's just, like, drawing on my face and, like, making it fluffy with, like, smoke on her face, and it's like, damn it. Okay, there we go. It's in the draw pile, and now there we go, we're back. Yay. So this is Now I've Awoken. Looking for, you said it's proportions and shading. Yeah, I can understand. They said mostly it's too light. This is Maze saying, sorry. Mostly it's too light. You don't need to be too timid with shadows. Yeah, it is something that can be easy to do. I particularly see that there's like a lot of heavy shadow here, and it's not anywhere else. Like here and here, it's quite light, so it's very underbalanced, and you've got like a lot of heavy stuff here as well. Whoops,
No.
undo. I clicked Control Z by accident. You want to like keep your shading balanced, so make sure like look at the other parts of shading and make sure that it's equal. I see a lot of this as well. People have like really painterly looking strokes with their shading, and it not in the sense that it's like supposed to be. It just looks like they sort of aren't quite sure how to get the colors on there. I will say again, make sure to just like use layers. It looks like you sort of painted it on top. That's probably, you probably do have the line art on a separate layer, but the line art's so thin. I definitely increase your line art size. You don't need to have it so thin. Like, I know a lot of things are like, oh, if you make the line art thinner a little bit at a time, eventually, like, thinner line art can look very nice, but you need to get to that point first. And sometimes thicker line art can just work a lot better. And I've seen a lot of people do it too thin, and it just doesn't work. And it just makes everything a lot harder to do. So give yourself a bit of a break here. Use thicker line art. It's a lot easier to work with than you'd think it would be. And that way you just get a lot more of a leeway with the colors and drawing and everything. So if I was shading this, so I'd have the line art, I'd color fill the colours on, and then my pen is very small. My pen is copying the line art. I would do the shading on a layer between the line art and the shadows. I actually have everything separated by folders. I have multiple line art layers, lots of color layers, and multiple shading layers, all in like their own separate folders. So it goes line art, shading, colors, and the shading I usually do as multiply. That is a substantially smaller body that you've drawn.
Yes. Proportions.
Well, I think that is a very valid style. That's more like show style. I think what they've done is also a valid style. Maybe it needs a little bit, like the body could be raised up a bit. But I think they have their own like perfectly valid, like I've seen lots of people do sort of taller ponies like this, and that's kind of fine as well.
Well, for sure.
Do you want to hear more of the show anatomy?
The reason I've drawn it smaller is because if we go off if we use it as the standard proportions, the little that I've done, and then we go compare it to yours, what we're looking at is some parts are elongated while other parts are not. And generally, when you're starting to stretch out the proportions of the reference material and working from there, you should try and maintain sort of a cohesive stretch before starting to manipulate individual elements. The reason that is because when you start stretching out just say a neck and making that very long, it's easy to break the underlying character and what's going on, and it's easy to lose, or how do I put this? It's easy to lose the sort of underlying reference of what should be there. So if we bring it back to standard MLP sizes, we can understand what can be stretched out from that. That barely made sense to me while I was saying it.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I get that all the time. Like, I have a perfectly legitimate thought in my head that like is cohesive and is a very solid point. And I start saying it, it's like I don't even begin to know how to actually put this into words, even though it felt like it was in words in my head. I pasted the drawing on the foreground on the drawing layer 3, but it's okay. I just posted it again on the foreground layer, so we can it doesn't matter if we erase it.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm drawing, like LD likes to stick to the typical sort of show style proportions, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, I go by that as well. I go by sort of movie style proportions now. That is perfectly fine, but there are lots of different styles, and I'm sort of going for more of what you've done here, but just straightening things up a little bit, just so you have two different types of viewpoints on proportions and anatomy here.
So if you go look on our subreddit, you'll see a beginner's guide. It has a proportions breakdown and how to measure and compare. I do highly suggest reading all those guides.
Give it a good
absorbing
look.
The information and applying.
Yeah, and if you like, give it a good look, give it a try using it, try drawing with it, and if you find that it just doesn't speak to you, then that's absolutely fine. Because this is why we have like a good diversity between different drawing styles and like opinions on drawing here, which is so that we can sort of speak to different people. And I typically do not do like the proportion measuring stuff. Like for me, I tried it and it just doesn't work. I learn by feeling, and just sort of trial and error to get things to feel like they're the right size and positioning and everything. But that doesn't work for everyone. Some people need the measuring, and that's absolutely fine. Like there are different ways of approaching a drawing and different ways of practicing, and that's absolutely okay. Like if one way doesn't work for you, it does not in any way mean you're a bad artist. And so don't feel like, oh, it seems like everyone else is drawing this sort of style. Am I weird? No, you're not. It's just you have your own way of like thinking about how to approach things. So I've changed the body, and with that I'll also change the position of the tail. Another thing worth noting: the tail has a lot of like the spikes we don't quite like, to make it look more hairy. You've got like these random spikes in. That's not really a good thing to do for like hair. Hair is typically something that flows, unless this pony is deliberately meant to have fur that looks like a durang. Like, it's better to. I'm struggling to actually get it good here, but you can have a couple of sort of outward spikes like this, but hair is meant to flow, so it's going to have a lot of. Let's see, we can do this little trick. Aha, go from the other way you're expecting, so now it's like the hair sort of flows into itself. We can do that again here. Ooh, look at that. We can even do like a little spike here. Just to give some variety. Make the hair flow, make it flow like a river. But it also sort of comes out of the butt a little bit. Not too badly though. I moved it, so it made it look way worse. If you look at where the tail's coming out of my yellow drawing, that's why I'm sort of redoing this. But it's not so bad on yours, but it's a little bit like it's got to flow from the spine. Here's the base of the spine. Think about where your tailbone is. That's where your tail would be, and it doesn't just like come out the booter. So there is that. Otherwise, I think it's good. Just making the tail flow a bit more. You can sort of like make it a bit fluffier. That's cool. But doing lots of little spikes tends to just make it look spiky, rather than fluffy and some nice hair. And if it doesn't look right, let's mess with it. Let's say this doesn't look perfect. That's fine. Let's mess with it and find out other ways that it can work. Oh, here we go. This is looking a bit nicer. Cool. And I'm working in a very, like, obviously, like, your line art's very thin and crisp, and I'm working, because we're just, like, sketching in a very big, sloppy, loose brush. But that's good. Messy sketching is very important. And it helps you just outline where everything is. What I would do next, just because it'd probably be better if I left you with this rather than just, oh, here's a messy sketch to go off of. What I would do next is I would go, new layer. I would turn this down a little bit. And actually I'll turn down the actual sketch as well. That looks weird, never mind. I'll just ignore it. And I would go through what I sketched with a different colour, probably just for clarity's sake. Forget how to rotate the canvas for a second, and then and then get back into it. And I would use a thinner pen, and granted this is a drawing program that isn't very easy to draw with. Nope. But I would basically go in with it's either too big or too thin. Using the like messy thing I sketched before, you can now go in and sketch with a little more detail and be a little more scrutinous about how to get it right. And yeah, we're talking a lot about the sketch here, or at least I am anyway, but it is, obviously a crucial step of the drawing, so it's important to, get everything right in the sketch first. Then you can get the lines and colours on and focus on that rather than still working on how to get it to look right while you're applying lines, because that is horrible to do. It's not nice. So just saving ourselves a battle here. Let's do a little fluff. I'm just making it into Spiritwind's tail at this point. I'm making my OC's tail, but there we go. A little bit of loose. How do I don't think I can just easily erase with this. I thought I had a sharp. There we go. Sharp eraser. Ooh. So yeah, what I'm doing here is going in with extra detail. So I had the messy sketch, and now it's like, okay, now we're going in and defining everything. Okay, so if you like to work a bit more crisp, that's absolutely fine. You can still do that, but starting in a broad sense and then building off of that works, especially for mains and tails. That's what I do for my mains. I'll block out. I'll just do it here quickly. I'll say like, okay, here's a main, and it's like this. There's some spikes here that cut the face. Is that okay? And then on another layer, I'll be like, okay, now I'm gonna do this again, but I'm gonna actually like put some detail into how the main looks, and it's gonna look a bit nicer. I'm just talking about general art stuff at this point, so you can feel free to move on if you have any other points.
No, you've gone over them.
How do I
actually, the shading Maze did talk about.
Ooh, go Maze.
Right now, you're using what appears to be just getting to a black. My suggestion would be move it towards more blue, which is a colder color. It'll look better when shading with a darker tone. rather than just bringing it towards black.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I know the underlying color is gray, so this makes it all sorts of hilarious when I'm trying to suggest that. Just give it a go. Bring it towards a dark blue and see how that goes for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the color itself of the coat obviously is gray, so usually when we talk about this, we have like a pink character, and then like we see like grayer looking shading where they've obviously just gone towards black, and it's something Ali talks about a lot, where it just doesn't look right because it just robs the color from the thing. So yes, this character's color is a gray coat, but you can still go towards colored shading, and especially with a gray coat, you can really like, this is obviously just like a black background or like a void that they're standing in. But if you were drawing them in a setting, like say you were drawing them in like a snowfield, you could give them very blue shading and highlights because it's reflecting the light around them, and just whatever scenario they happen to be in, you can. It's like kind of ironic that this gray character affords you lots of opportunities for lots of color, and being a very middle tone, I actually do really like the tones you've got here. The values, I should say. Sorry, it's very good. You've not got like a super like stark color. This will be very easy to both highlight and shade. So that's very good. The other thing I wanted to say is I missed this, but I just noticed you said this was your first attempt drawing with a drawing tablet, which is very daunting. I remember I had the tablet for ages, but I mentioned that I used to use GIMP, and I just drew with the path tool, and then I would stroke the path with a 1/width pencil, color fill, and then stroke it again on a different layer with like a soft line to cover it up. And that was like an ingenious invention that I came up with. But when I had a tablet, I just used it for like soft shading. I just got like an airbrush, which I can grab one here, and I just like, okay, shading. There's a new layer that you can make it multiply. Yes, we can. And so I would just shade with like an airbrush with my tablet like this because it gave me like the flexibility you need. But I was too afraid to draw with it because it's like how do you even begin to do this? I picked up. I think I actually started with Psy. I just over the years have just not liked it. But you can't even remove layers on this. That's weird. I tried drawing, and it's like, okay, I'm just gonna, after I couldn't find any tutorials anywhere on how to actually draw with a tablet, I'm just gonna do it. And like, it seems like a huge learning curve, because it is, but it's a steep learning curve. It doesn't take as long to get over as you think it does. It just looks like it's gonna be really daunting from the beginning. But I tried drawing, and it was sloppy and messy, but like, I was like, I need to do this, and then just get used to it, and that's exactly what happened. Like, the first couple of pictures were just like really messy lines, really not good, and then I discovered Clip Studio Paint, or Manga Studio 5 at the time, which I really liked, and so I found the program that I liked and got along with, so that was a big part of it, and then just drew and drew and drew, and my lines got better, my sketching got better, because I just got used to using a tablet for stuff other than just general shading and stuff. Like I was using it for actual strokes, so that would be my advice to you as well. Just draw lots of things, doodle lots of stuff, and you'll get better over time. Just if you're struggling with something, get it done, move on to the next picture, draw more stuff. But well done on challenging yourself to tackle this learning curve of the tablet. I don't have much else to say, though.
Yeah, I got nothing else.
I think that's it. So thank you for coming to us, and good luck in the future with all your future drawings.
Yeah.
I don't think we've received any other requests for art, have we?
Nope.
Okie doke. So I guess that's it from us. Do you want to close up?
I think that is. So thank you very much for everyone showing up. Sorry about the technical difficulties holding us off. Hopefully next week, Living Dead gets his shit together and, is able to run a stream. So thank you all for joining, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.